G'day everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Azure resources and creating them. And I have the resident expert, Matt Wicks. How are you, Matt?
Good, thank you. And you?
I'm excellent. And I might start by saying I assume that the most common problem we see with Azure resources is they're created manually. Is that right?
Yes. When you're learning Azure and deploying resources, you've got to start somewhere. And the easiest way is to deploy things manually. A lot of the time, people just get stuck in their ways and continue down that path. But, just in terms of improving your processes, the lowest hanging fruit is to stop deploying manually and start using infrastructure as code.
Okay, so that's creating those resources automatically with an infrastructure as code file.
Yeah, have some code, have a file in your repository. It sits next to the code, and that describes how the resources are deployed.
Right, and I know there's many tools of creating them, ARM templates and Pulumi and Terraform and different things. But before we jump in, I would love to just tell, are you feeling a bit of deja vu that we had this problem 15, 20 years ago when people were creating database tables manually or fields manually and not using scripts or any framework, database migrations and things?
Yeah, so this is definitely taking that code-first approach to with database development, as opposed to the other way where you're database first, or worse, you've got a designer file that models what's in the database. So you've got double handling happening. But I see this exactly what code first was to databases. This is to screenshots in a Word document on how to deploy your service and set them up properly. So that's where the infrastructure and code as code solution is trying to achieve.
Okay, so let's jump in and have a look at what our options are of creating these templates.
Sure. So here I've got the Microsoft Docs site open on ARM templates. So ARM templates, as you can see, they are just JSON files. So pretty easy to read and understand, especially if you're a developer. And what you do is you can deploy them with the Azure CLI, or you can use release tasks in GitHub Actions or Azure DevOps, and push this to Azure, and Azure deploys the stuff for you. So you've got a plain text file. You don't need anything special to modify it, and you can deploy it out. That's free, by the way. And if you've already manually deployed stuff, hey, Azure will actually export a template for you, so you can improve your processes pretty quickly. There are alternatives. So there's Terraform from HashiCorp, which is awesome. They've got a way to describe how you deploy all these resources and push them out to multiple clouds. So if you are going that multi-cloud route, and you've got more complex structures, ops teams love these tools. You can do this with Terraform, but it is you do have to pay for this. There's Pulumi as well, so that's a bit newer than Terraform. The cool thing about Pulumi is you don't have to learn a new language to do this. You can use TypeScript, which looks like it's doing there. You can use C#. Whatever. You don't learn a new language. You've got a familiar way of building things up. This is free for individuals, but when you start getting into large teams, you're paying for it, which rightly so. It's an awesome product.
But that is moving away from ARM templates. That's an alternative.
It's an alternative, yes.
Okay. Assume we're sticking on ARM templates. What are the problems and what are the tools we can use to make them simpler?
So the problems with ARM templates is that they can be quite complex, quite verbose, and you're seeing a big wall of JSON. So I've got
even for a very simple project.
Yeah, very simple project. So I've got, this is the Azure Quick Starts templates here. It's a set of templates that the Azure team bring out. This particular template describes deploying a web app that connects to Cosmos DB from GitHub.
So 3 resources.
3 things happening here. 2 of them are only Azure resources. Deploying from GitHub.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So if I scroll down, we got some cool things like, parameters. So in the same way that you've got parameters on your method, you can have parameters in your ARM templates. You can pull some things out that, may be dynamic.
So that whole first page, we haven't even got to the first resource.
We haven't hit resources yet. So we are 78 lines in, and then we hit variables. So that may be some pre-computed things that you want to do, and then finally you hit the resources. The other thing that...
I noticed the Cosmos DB is document DB.
I was about to get to that. So we're deploying Cosmos DB, but it's using the old name document DB. We are deploying to an app service, which is actually called a site and is deployed to a server farm. So we've got an issue because we're not using a ubiquitous language here. We've got to translate in our head, and the more things we have to remember to do, the harder this gets. We haven't even gotten to like the peculiarities of Azure naming conventions and things like that, which definitely bite you in the bum.
So what tools can we use that will make this simpler?
So there are a couple of tools out there that are off the top of my head that generate ARM templates for you. So you can use DSL, or domain-specific language, to build that up. So essentially like an abstraction layer on ARM templates. So the Azure team is developing a thing called Azure Bicep, which is an ARM DSL, exactly as they say. So you've got that sort of Terraform concept where you're using a slightly different language, but this will spit out an ARM template. The other one, which I like, is Farmer. It's using a domain-specific language written in F# that will spit out an ARM template for you. So you've got a normal .NET project. It sits in your .azure directory next to your code, and as part of your build pipeline, you just run it. It'll spit out an ARM template for you, and that's a build artifact.
Can we see how simple it is?
Yeah. So I've actually taken...
oh, wow. Look at those lines of code there.
Yeah. So if we look at what Farmer generates versus an ARM template, we can actually do a bit of a comparison here. So I've taken this template here, and I've loaded it into VS Code. So here's a Farmer project here. It was like .NET new console and add a reference to Farmer, so literally 2 lines, and then I pasted their template.
So it's a web app with Cosmos DB or some storage.
Oh, you're reading it already. Yeah. I'm not even teaching you Farmer, and you worked out. Yeah, there's a storage account. There is a web app that depends on the storage account. It actually pulls in the access, the key to give it access. And then this is deploying to North Europe because that was within the template. We deploy to Australia East because that's our closest. But hey, it's a location in there. If I wanted to change it up so I could deploy to multiple places, hey, it could just be an argument that we take out of the command line from .NET. So running it is incredibly complex. If you've ever run a .NET app before, it is .NET Run.
Oh, so we don't have to learn anything.
We don't have to learn anything.
Okay.
But I don't know if you noticed there's a couple of bugs in this template.
No, I don't see
it. Let's see if Farmer finds it. Okay, it's had an exception. And if we have a look, it's saying that storage account names can only contain lowercase letters.
Oh, right.
So we can see up here, looks like I'm using camel casing. I could use kebab case, but that's got dashes. This has just reminded me that Azure Storage is really picky about the names.
This is reminding me how much I hate this. I hate these naming restrictions.
I hate the naming. I keep on forgetting.
Yeah.
And especially when you're on client time, you want to solve this pretty quickly. The fact that I ran this and it took 3 seconds, that's saving the client a bit of money. So I've renamed the storage account. I'll run it again. And okay, it's completed. And I don't know if you noticed, it actually dropped a JSON file out there.
Right. Okay.
If we open that up, it's an ARM template.
But we don't have to read that anyway.
We don't have to read it. We can actually create a PR and push this F# program into there. And this is a lot easier to read. But we can take this JSON template and preview it.
Oh, very nice, with the tool we learned in the other video.
Yeah. So so if we have a look, it knows that I'm creating a web app. I should have application insights in there. It's dropped it in there. If
presumptuous.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, a little bit, but I like to have this. I like to have this telemetry. So I can put this into a PR. If you go and modify it, you'll create a PR. You're just modifying this F# program. It'll be really easy to understand what changes you make. So this readability, like improving the readability of the template, so much better. The other thing is it's in active development. So let's say I wanted to take these. I'm putting these settings in there. Really, it's great that I'm doing this and I don't see the settings. It's being stored in Azure for me. But I want to use Key Vaults instead. That's pretty hard to actually roll into an application usually. But what IaC ARM is actually doing, he's developing Farmer. He's changing the syntax so that you can just put in use Key Vault.
We went to his Twitter account to get the documentation.
Well, he's developing it.
Okay.
So,
how many lines of code in a standard ARM template is implementing Key Vault?
Well, in this example, he's put in use Key Vault on there, and then if we flick over to the same sort of diagram, we can see that Key Vault is being used all of a sudden to store that storage key for Azure storage. So in one line of code, it's added that whole Key Vault vertical.
Yes, that's one line. What compare that with what they would have had to do if they were using an ARM template.
50 lines.
Oh, really? It's a lot.
It's a lot of stuff to actually manage and maintain. You've got dependencies to manage. The examples on the Quick Starts guide, whilst they're great, if you're looking for that specific instance of, hey, I've got my web app, I've got a Cosmos DB and storage, and I want to store Key Vaults, you're most probably not going to find it. You'll find bits and pieces, and then you've got to stick it together in your own time. So you've got to read the documentation, this, that, and the other. This is so much easier.
Right. Okay. Well, that's fantastic. Let me try to see if I can summarize it for the average depth. The first thing is don't create Azure resources manually. Use a tool, and of the different tools, ARM templates are the better way to go if you want an absolute free tool.
Free out of the box, yeah.
Yep. But they're very verbose, so the best way of creating the ARM templates is using the Farmer tool, which is very nice and lightweight, and it's F#. And you can add now F# to your resume on LinkedIn because now you're using F#. And that is all you need to maintain. You don't even need to look at your ARM template anymore, even though that could be in the same folder like the .azure folder.
The only reason you'd want to look at it is so you can grab that nice diagram and put it in your documentation.
Oh, excellent. Oh, thank you for that. All right, so that was really fantastic. Thank you so much, Matt. And so this is Adam Kogan signing off for SSW TV.